If it's Tuesday, that means the Apex Energy Cup Series racing from Slingshot Racing League. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth tonight by Chris Smith. Tonight, we are bringing you live racing action in the ARCA cars from Kansas Speedway for the Evan Pienta Designs 200. This beautiful 1.5 mile track sits just about 15 miles west of Kansas City, Missouri, and it was built back in 2001. It has hosted multiple series since opening, including the Indy Racing League, or now IndyCar, and NASCAR. It's no secret that for years there was actually a dispute over the length of the track between IndyCar and NASCAR. One said it was 1.5, one said it was 1.52, but that was settled when NASCAR purchased the track. We've seen great racing of this track over the years in NASCAR and some really good finishes, especially in recent years in the era of the green-white checkered finish. So Chris, the Hollywood Casino sits right off of turn 4 of the track and has about 2,000 slot machines. I know there's definitely been some lucky wagers made inside there since it's opened in 2012. What are these Cup drivers going to need to do tonight to cash in on their luck and get to victory lane with the most chips at the end of the night?
Well, I like it how you put that. There's probably going to be a fair bit of luck that will be had tonight, possibly. Those of you who are not familiar with the iRacing update schedule, there was a big update today, and these cars now have a lot more power than what they originally had, than what they had just last week and all the other weeks for the Slingshot Racing League. So drivers are not only having to figure out their way around this track, they're also having to try to figure out their way around a car that drives totally different than what it drove before. This track is very line sensitive. You're probably going to see a lot of drivers that are going to be up near the top lane. Tonight we've got 133 laps around this 1.5-mile speedway. That equals 200 miles. They got the set of tires that they start the race on, plus 2 more sitting in the pits. With a fuel window of about 40 to 45 laps. So it should make for an entertaining and very interesting race with all of the unknowns surrounding this car after the update.
Absolutely, and it's going to be something we're looking forward to. But before we get to that, we're going to do our pre-race tradition here at Slingshot Racing and play the national anthem before we get to the action tonight. So we'll catch you on the other side of it. All right, you are looking live at the Kansas Speedway tonight. It's the Evan Pienta Designs 200 from the Apex Energy Cup Series. We are about to end practice, and we had talked a little bit earlier about how these drivers are going to have quite the night ahead of them. We've got kind of a new iRacing update that changed how these cars handle. It changed the horsepower under the hood a little bit, and a lot of these drivers are driving these cars with setups that they've been practicing with, but the car might feel a good bit different. So we're going to just here in a moment take a lap around with a driver. I'm not sure, Chris, whoever you want to pick, to ride around with for their qualifying lap. But we're going to just see kind of what the line's going to look like tonight. Looks like we're on board with Aaron Smith as he gets rolling for his 2 qualifying laps, and you can see he's weaving those tires back and forth. He's definitely looking to get those tires warmed up before he gets out on track. Chris, what do you expect to see from Aaron in terms of line around this track?
Once the race gets going, I think that you might see, a lot of people migrate up towards the top. I guarantee you he'll probably run. I'm not sure what your fastest lap is going to be, if it's going to be your first lap or your second lap. But it might be your second lap, and if that's the case, he's probably going to run up high on the first lap, and then the second lap is anybody's guess. Yeah, right here. You see that top speed, almost 100, and he's in the wall.
Oh, he got in the wall a little bit.
Yeah, he's gonna stay in it here. He's gonna try to keep on going. I wondered if he was gonna try to abort and reset, but I think that just speaks to he knows his second lap is gonna be his quick one anyway. So, exit of the corner speed about 170 miles an hour there on the exit of 4. My gosh, look how fast these things are now.
About 190 going into that corner.
Yeah.
Wow, and that high line is going to be the preferred line of choice, like you said, at least early on in the run. But here's the concern. We saw Aaron Smith, arguably one of the best drivers in the series, slap the wall a little bit on his first lap around. Certainly on cold tires, that's going to be an easy mistake to make. And he looks like he got a little bit loose there out of 4, but he's going to complete his second lap. And that looks like that's going to put him at a 36. One guy we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on right now is Scott Sobczak. He's a guy who's won. Chris, has he won every single pole this season in terms of the races he's actually started? I think all but one. As far as I know, can't remember exactly, but he has won by far a majority of poles as we ride on board with Scott Sobczak. You can see him getting up to speed. Maybe waiting a little bit later on in the run with about 2.5 minutes left. Is there a strategy there? What's Scott thinking in terms of getting out a little bit later?
He might be just counting on the track to cool down just a little bit, get a little bit cooler as the night goes on. I went to Chase Berry at the wrong time, I guess.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we'll ride on board with Brayton Laster here. He might just be trying to, play the temperature game and hoping it just gets a little bit cooler as the night goes on. As we ride on board here with Brayton Laster, he's running a little bit lower line. We haven't seen Brayton in a few weeks. He's been kind of a busy boy.
He really has. He's been running. He started the ARCA race at Daytona, and that's in real life. I didn't probably have the finish he would have liked, but he definitely had some speed in that car. I know there was at least one practice session where that car that he ran was at the top of the leaderboard. And he had some speed early on in the race, but I think some things happened that prevented him from getting the finish that he would have liked to. But we're glad to have him with us tonight. We got about a minute and a half left in qualifying. And hey, one thing I'm noticing on the boards right now, Scott Sobczak is about 0.2 off of Aaron. And I don't know if maybe Scott just didn't have the lap he wanted, if he maybe made contact with the wall, but that's uncharacteristically off the pace for Scott early on in qualifying. There'll be something to keep an eye on in the race. Right now, Aaron Smith is at the top of the charts, and man, he's fast. He's about a second or a tenth and a half faster than his teammate in second place, Patrick Colby. So again, this is qualifying. A lot can happen over the course of the race that we'll be keeping an eye on. And as qualifying wraps up, we might take a moment to talk about some of the stories we're going to be watching throughout the race, Chris. First thing, as always, we're always talking about tires. Drivers, as you mentioned earlier, they have 3 tire sets on the evening, and that is all they've got. So when we're looking at these guys running up top and carrying the speed off the corner, tires are going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. Who's using them up earlier than the guys who are maybe hanging on to them a little bit longer into those runs. And as you mentioned, the Season 2 update, how's that going to affect drivers tonight?
Well, it seems like, I didn't know about it. It was a little bit of a shock to me, a little bit of a surprise to me until some of our drivers started talking about it, that this car now has a lot more power than it had before. The RPM band has increased. They're north of 9,000 RPMs, it sounds like. So that's going to change things drastically. This car was a handful already when it had less RPMs, and now it's got a lot more. And so you can only imagine it's going to be a little bit tougher to handle, especially on a track like this that has progressive banking. This track is progressively banked from the bottom up. It's 17 degrees at the bottom of the track, all the way up to 20 degrees at the top of the track. I suspect that we'll probably see the top lane be pretty dominant here early in the race.
I suspect you are right. And talking about dominant, the driver who's the most dominant in the night is going to take home $25 as part of our Crown Jewel race program. We've got 5 races this season at some of the toughest tracks that we're giving away $25 to the winner. So $125 over the course of the season, thanks to our own community donating that money. Fuel mileage, like we talked about, it's going to be interesting to look. Fuel mileage is around 40 to 45 laps tonight, which is going to mean multiple pit stops. And if we're talking about multiple pit stops and you throw cautions into those equations, not only is it going to get complicated with the fuel, but that's going to further complicate those tires. Any thoughts on that before we look at the grid tonight, Chris?
Yeah, it just seems like every single Kansas race in real life, it comes down to fuel mileage. And I suspect that could be a possibility depending on how our cautions fly tonight. But we know that these drivers last week at IRP, a very, very tough track, went caution-free. So might not even get a chance for this to really be a fuel mileage race depending on when these guys pit.
Yeah, so with that being said, there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on tonight. And let's go ahead and take a look at the starting grid as they roll off of pit road right now. Starting first, we've got Aaron Smith in that number 1 car. He's got several wins this season. Patrick Colby, truck win a couple weeks ago, starting on the outside of the first row, looking to claim his first Cup Series win of the season. Tony Hilbrand starting 3rd. Justin Gann in that 30-car Kitty Cat coin starting in 4th. Scott Sobczak in 5th. Brady Powers in 6th. Johnny Rapp in 7th. And Brayton Laster starting his 2nd race of the season in 8th. Austin Greer looking to have a good start or a good finish tonight in that 45 car starting 10th. Randy Bechtel looking to claim his 2nd win of the season starting in 10th. And you can see the rest of the drivers scroll by there at the bottom, and we are getting ready to take the green. Drivers are rolling through turn 3, pace car leading the way. I think these first couple laps are going to be something to keep an eye on, Chris. Pace car pulls off. Aaron Smith is going to take the green flag for the Evan Pienta Designs 200. Looks like Justin Gann didn't get a great start there, but it's not going to impact really anyone behind him. But the 3 leaders, Colby, Smith, and Hilbrand, off to the races, with Hilbrand kind of choosing that 2nd lane. Aaron Smith and Patrick Colby quickly close that up. Aaron Smith on the bottom, Colby up top. And you can see already that momentum that those cars running the outside lane carry off of those corners right now. Tony Hilbrand's looking a little bit loose, but he's able to get underneath the 9 of his teammate Patrick Colby as they cross the line to finish the first lap. Aaron Smith is scored as your leader.
Yeah, and you might see these cars wiggling around just a little bit, like you mentioned, Ellis. First race with this car being in the a little bit higher speeds. I heard that lap times were about 1 second quicker than what they had been in the past here. And so you might see that tonight, wiggling around just a little bit as we've got almost a 3-wide battle for second now.
Absolutely. And hey, we saw what we were expected to see. We talked about earlier on, maybe even a little bit before the race, at least in the first 2 positions. Tony Hilbrand, when he made that pass, he went low and he quickly kind of I shouldn't say quickly, but slowly slid back up the track. Fortunately for him, Aaron Smith gave him plenty of room, but that's what we call the slide job, and we're probably going to see a lot more aggressive versions of that as the night goes on. As we watch Aaron Smith slip back to 4th place, I have to imagine that's all by design right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried at all. Aaron's probably just taking care of his stuff. We've seen him do this in most all the races this season, especially races on tracks like this, 1.5 miles like this. I wouldn't be surprised at all just to see him sort of like in ride mode right now. Meanwhile, at the front of this heat, we got a battle between teammates.
Yeah, so it looks like the 9 is going to duck back in there. I thought he might make a run, but both of these guys kind of surprising me a little bit running low early on. So we'll see Patrick Colby slide back up into 2nd place. with Scott Sobzak in that 81, not far behind. Sobzak right now is one of the biggest. He's actually the biggest gainer on the track, picking up 2 spots after starting in 5th. As we watch Colby see if he can kind of reel in Hilbrun's there by using that bottom line. He's not going to have enough off of 2, but he might take another crack at it here down in turn 3. But he's got Scott Sobzak to worry about on his outside bumper. Scott Sobzak going to use that outside line to see if he can keep momentum off the corner. Yeah, looks like Patrick's going to leave room for him, maybe.
Yep, and we see Scott Sobzak. I'm trying to keep an eye on the rest of the field and keep an eye on the battle for the top spot here. It seems like Scott is running higher than anybody else is. I thought that the top might be really dominant here. Scott's obviously, he's probably the fastest car on the track right now, but the speed that comes with that also brings the question of if you're going to burn up your right front tire running up there like that.
Yeah, and that's something we've said about Scott. He knows we've said it, but he has a lot of speed, but as the runs go on, he tends to fall back. As we watch him go for the lead right now, though, he's making that outside line work really, really well. But the question, like you mentioned, is how long is that going to be able to be the prevailing strategy as we work our way past lap 7 of the Apex Energy Cup Series Evan Pienta Designs 200. Man, you always hate to move away from the battle for the lead, but we've got some other action going on track right now. If we're just doing a quick run through, Aaron Smith still sitting in 4th comfortably, Justin Gann in 5th. But as we look back in 6th place, we're looking at a battle for 6th between the 22 of Brady Powers, Austin Greer, and also Brayton Laster having a pretty solid run, sticking in 8th, exactly where he qualified, as all 3 of these cars draw up on the back end of that kitty cat. One car driven by Justin Gann.
And it looks like Brady Powers has got that inside line working really well. Looks like he was hooking the white line really nicely. Got to give Brady a shout out. I raced around him a lot last week at Iowa. I thought that was probably one of his best races that he's driven in Slingshot. He was very, very fast and very smooth whenever I was around him, and so he's looking to parlay that into a nice run tonight.
Yeah, hey, while we were talking, Scott Sobzak, he made that outside line work all the way to the lead. He's got a rocket ship tonight so far. And hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our viewers in the chat. Right now we got Brayton Laster, who's actually apparently typing while he's racing. Hopefully he can keep the car on track, but also Gran Torino Sport. We appreciate your support. He says there's more than one line on this track. And again, I think that might be the biggest surprise I've seen tonight is just the variety of lines. We got Tony Hilbrun's working probably that 2nd lane. We've got Patrick Colby running that inside. You mentioned Brady Powers in that 22 working the inside, but I'm starting to see these drivers moving down a little bit, Chris.
Yeah, it looks like that since Scott Sobzak grabbed the lead, he's tried to migrate to the bottom just a little bit here, maybe thinking that I might be burning up my tire. Well, he's back to the top here in 1 and 2, so this might be a situation where Scott feels more comfortable running up high on one end of the track, but on the other end of the track, his car works a little bit better on the bottom.
Yeah, and that says a lot about someone's driving skill where they can have that kind of variety and versatility and more nuanced approach to racing the racetrack where you can sense that one corner, one lane's working better than the other as opposed to the other corner. So that just speaks to the experience and skill level of Scott and honestly a lot of our Cup drivers. As we watch this battle for the lead continue, we got Tony Hilbrun looking to make a pass down low using that inside line we've been speaking about for the past couple of laps. Patrick Colby, his teammate, going to try to follow him in there. Tony looks to close the door a little bit on Patrick. I don't think Patrick's going to force the issue this early on in the run, but you can see him trying to figure out which car he thinks he wants to go with. Patrick's been running that inside line all night, so I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to take it 3 wide for the lead. Is he going to make it stick? I don't think he's not going to force the issue there. That's probably a wise move on the part of that 9 car, Chris.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing out of him tonight. I think he's wrapping the bottom really, really nice on both ends. I feel like he's pretty smooth. Patrick kind of has a lot of self-deprecating humor about his ability to burn up the tires as the race goes on. But I think he's actually looking really, really good tonight, really smooth. Wow, what a shot that is. 4 different lines through 1 and 2.
I wouldn't have suspected, based on everything we talked with our drivers about it. I don't know if they would have expected to see what we're seeing right now. And hey, while we're talking about Patrick Colby, he was our guest this week on the Slingshot Sim Racing podcast. That I think it was a great episode. If you have not listened to our podcast before, be sure to go check it out. You can search Slingshot Sim Racing Podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're now on Apple Podcast. Or you can find the links at slingshotracing.org to check out that podcast. It's a battle for the lead. Man, as just within the past lap or so, we've had 5th and 6th. Brady Powers and Justin Gann draw right back up to the back of these leaders. And I continue to see Brady Powers working that inside line almost as well as that 9 of Patrick Colby is, and he's dragged Justin Gann with him.
Yeah, I think that one thing that we are seeing is we are seeing a lot of different lines. I'm going to be curious to see how easy it is to pass, though. I think the drivers had a lot of concerns about making the pass, and rightfully so, because the guys on the top can get such a run. But with the update today, and you know the higher horsepower that these cars have, that does create some opportunities to make a pass. As we got a battle going on for the 4th spot here, Brady Powers just got around the 30 of Justin Gann for 5th, and he wants more. He's going after Aaron Smith for the 4th spot.
Absolutely. Looks like he pushes up there just a little bit, and he's going to open himself up to now be passed back by both Aaron Smith and Justin Gann. That's the danger of making a pass. If you don't pull it off right at the right place, you're risking giving up a lot of momentum and potentially giving up not only one spot, but possibly even more, as we see him go back underneath that kitty cat coin car. Brady Powers continuing to work that inside, sitting in right now, going for 5th place. Guy who's having a good run also, Austin Greer. Austin works along Patrick Colby doing our fantasy league preview show on Monday nights. He's sitting in 7th. He's up 2 spots from starting in 9th place, and he's a guy who goes out there, he gets it done. He's not going to be a guy always running in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, but he's kind of a consistent guy. Doesn't have trouble too much right now. He's channeling that into a 7th place run. Right behind him, Randy Bechtel, our Daytona winner. He's having a good run. He's up 2 spots from the 10th position. Randy looking like a guy who might be able to make kind of a championship challenge to Aaron Smith this season. We haven't seen a lot of people really get close to Aaron over the course of his time with Slingshot Racing, but right now, Randy's looking like he might be a formidable opponent. So he'll be someone to keep an eye on tonight. He's a guy who's coming off, I believe, a 2nd or 3rd place finish in our last race at IRP. He had a lot of speed towards the end of that race, and he's continuing to channel that into a good run tonight. Hey, I want to take a second to give a quick shout-out. Maybe I'm looking at the lead real quick just to see if we need to refocus. It's definitely a battle for 2nd place going on, but I do want to take a second to shout out to the driver of the number 4 car, Matt Scherf, running tonight in his first race in this Cup Series. Matt is a road course guy, self-admittedly, but he has worked really hard this season to kind of build his chops running the Truck Series on the oval, and he's doing a great job of that tonight in that 4 Vulture Motorsports car. He's worked hard to really learn the ways of the oval, so to speak, and we're proud of him. We appreciate having him around as we go back to looking at the battle for 2nd place. Patrick Colby, Aaron Smith, Patrick. Yeah, right.
Tony Hilbrun's almost got the. Oh no! And he got together with the 30.
Gann. That's going to take Hilbrun's into the wall in the front stretch. That's going to be a single car accident. Caution is out.
No, it's not.
It is not.
We're still green.
We are still green.
That was not a complete
spin.
spin.
Out of caution.
iRace has been a little bit finicky about that, but if we go back and we look at the replay here, I think you're going to see that Tony never really got completely around here. This all started, I think, off of turn 4. I think that Tony was a little bit high here. He got close to the wall, and he just started wiggling. And I don't know if he knew that Justin was there or if he thought Justin was maybe going to hit the apron and shortcut it and just, misjudged that. But the 30 of Gann will actually ride on board. It's actually, we might have Okay, no, everything looks good there. We'll see if we can go back and we can take a look at this from Justin Gann's perspective.
30 car went, from my impressions, about as low as he could have gone
Yeah.
there. I don't think Tony realized he was there, and maybe he anticipated him, like you said, taking that apron. But 30 car didn't do anything wrong. That's just one of those racing accidents. I hate to see Tony again having a really good run tonight, running in second, third place when that happened, and that's kind of been the story of Tony's season, unfortunately. I think he's had a lot of speed, whether it was at Daytona or IRP last week where he led over half the race. These just unfortunate things have happened that have taken him out of contention. So again, Tony Hilbrand's going to be the first victim of contact with the wall tonight, contact with another car, with that 30 car of Justin Gann. But they continue racing. We're on lap 25. We are without a caution so far in the Evan Pienta Designs 200 right now. This field is getting a little bit spread out, certainly more so than it was earlier on in the race. Your leader right now, Scott Sobczak. Right now he has led. I'm looking. I don't know if I have how many laps he's led in the race, but right now he's actually got the second best lap time of the evening. So he's got a good run going. Aaron Smith's got a good run going. Aaron just laying in wait. You can almost sense that he's saving those tires as the run goes by. We're about roughly 15 to 20 laps away from a pit stop for fuel based on what our drivers have shared with us tonight. Patrick Colby continues to run third, but he's got Justin Gann, the car that was involved in that last incident, chasing him down. Brady Powers in fifth. And hey, Austin Greer now up with that incident from Tony Hilbrand's up to sixth, knocking on the door of a top five.
Yeah, and while we're right on board here with Patrick Colby, just want to take a look real quick at that damage on the number 30 of Justin Gann, that Kitty Cat Coin car. Right front's pushed in just a little bit here. Doesn't look too bad though. So I think that what you're going to see is that Justin Gann might be all right. I haven't really seen anything as far as his laps are concerned. Meanwhile, Tony Hilbrand's unfortunately has hit the pit lane to get some of that damage fixed. His is a lot more significant, as you can see.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a fairly lengthy pit stop for the driver, that number 92 Apex Energy Cup Series car. So right now, just looking through the field to see some of the action we got going on. Looks like Monty Sprague working on the back bumper of Brayton Laster for the 12th position. Brayton really looking like he's struggling right now. He slipped back several positions, 4 positions since the start of this race, really 5 if you include the number 92 cars. Monty Sprague having a good run tonight, working on 12th place, keeping the car in good shape. Monty is learning this car pretty well as he maybe looking for his first, I believe maybe his first top 10 of the season tonight. He's kind of having a quiet night, has kind of a quiet season so far, but you know, it's great to see him have a good run out there tonight. It's a good looking number 3 car that he's driving tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in front of him, Lee Campbell in the number 14.
You want to take it or you want me to take it?
No, you got this one. This is your wheelhouse right here.
Lee Campbell working his way up through the field, seeing how many coins he can collect as he takes that Sonic the Hedgehog car towards the front, working on a top 10 as well. Lee Campbell, just like Monty Sprague, they're not always going to be the fastest guys on the track, but they keep their nose clean and they finish races, which we cannot understate the value of, right? You know, clean driving is really one of the first steps to being successful. And a lot of drivers never learn that, but Lee and Monty, definitely guys I wouldn't mind racing around on the racetrack.
Definitely, and we're going to take a look real quick at some of our previous lap speeds and just see how everybody is looking, how everybody is shaking out here. And one thing that I am noticing right up here, Scott Sobczak is still one of the fastest cars on the track. That time by Aaron Smith, about a tenth and a half quicker than him. It's hard to say, you know, that's just one lap. We'll get a better sense of this as we watch this maybe for a couple of laps, so we can get like a better analysis of like where everybody's at, and like where everybody's taking up. Like that time there.
That time Scott was faster.
Yeah, he was. And Aaron, I've noticed, has changed his line. I think he changed it that lap actually. And Aaron is obviously, a really, really good driver, one of the best on the service, and a much better driver than me. But whenever I have had I've decided to change my line, to try to run a little bit different spot on the track, the tires are telling me I need to do that. It always takes me a lap or two just to get my bearings in that new line that I'm running. And at that time Aaron Smith was about 2/10 quicker than he was the lap before.
Absolutely. And as that battle continues to maybe heat up a little bit with Aaron Smith running just a little bit faster than Scott, we got about 10 laps until we're expecting to see a pit stop. I felt like I just heard a little bit of contact. Did you hear that, or was that just me? Might have been just me.
Well, anything could have happened on the track. We got these guys running really close together as Randy Bechtel has made his way around Brady Powers here for the 6th spot. One thing I'm noticing is that Brady, his lap times, that time it wasn't too bad, but for a couple laps there, his lap times had really fallen off. So I'm curious if Brady was pushing just a little bit too hard. We'll have to keep on watching him and watching his progress. Speaking of progress, this number 18 car right here, there's CarQuest Chevy, is making his way up through the field, and he's looking like he's got that long run speed tonight.
And that's exactly what he had at IRP. Randy Bechtel looking to see if he can claim his 2nd win of the season, coming off that win at Daytona in the season opener. Hey, we appreciate you in the chat. We got Gran Torino Sport asking what happened to the 25 car of Chris Pierce. Chris started the race, but I think he might have had something pop up or some sort of engagement he had to go to, and he ended up parking it, but he still gets the points for the evening to answer that question. Hey, if you are in the chat right now, let us know. Who do you think's got the upper hand in this race so far? Who are you thinking is going to go to victory lane? Is it going to be Sobczak? Is it going to be Smith? Maybe Bechtel that we just got done talking about? Or just let us know who your favorite driver is. Go ahead and feel free to shout that out in the chat right now as we continue to cross over on lap 36 of the Evan Pienta Designs 200. Scott Sobczak is your leader. He's drawn out to about a 2nd and 2/10 lead on Aaron Smith, and that time Smith was just a little bit faster. And what I'm looking at on the times, Chris, they're trading fastest laps back and forth. You got Scott faster one lap, you got Aaron faster another. That lap, they were almost identical lap times.
Yeah, it showed a little bit of car contact, and yeah, the right side is scuffed up on the 81. He was trying to arc it out right there. I don't know if that contact showed up on his end or if it's just on my end. Yeah, that's one thing that I was going to bring up earlier is Scott's really laying that right side against the wall. And hey, if you can do that, he's obviously good enough to do it. Then yeah, you can generate a lot of speed that way, but it's one of those risk-reward things, and I think that's where he hit it before. The lap before was trying to make as wide of an arc as he possibly could into turn 1. But
man, that's just a little bit of a kiss.
Yeah, that's not going to be anything that hurts him as far as the balance of the car or his speed tonight. So hopefully he can just keep it up. Now, if this was the truck, on the other hand, and he had decided he wanted to run up there on that, play with flirt with disaster a little bit.
Paper mache truck, you mean?
Yeah, the paper mache truck. That would be a little bit more risky. But while we've been watching Scott Sobczak, I'm gonna just take a trip back right here real quick. And I went back to him at the wrong time. I shouldn't have done it. Rye Jones is making some nice.
I was just thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah, he was making some nice progress up there, and right when we went to him, he found his way into the outside wall. But just like with Scott Sobczak, I don't think it's too bad. I think he's okay. It just hurts his speed for that lap, and he can recover.
Certainly didn't make him any less comfortable because he goes right back up there to drop back to the bumper of the 45 of Austin Greer. And hey, we do have an Austin Greer fan in the chat, JF Greer. We appreciate you watching the race tonight. But hey, I wanted to mention about Ryan Jones. He's up, looking like he's going for about 8 spots up on the race tonight. Ryan started in the back because of a pit road penalty last week, led to some words, and those things happen. But he had to start at the back, and he's made his way up to the 7th position. So great to see Rye having a good run out there as he works his way by the 45 car of Austin Greer. Works his way up to now the 6th position. And hey, he's running actually really fast laps. Rye, that time ran a lap even with Scott Sobczak, our leader. So Oh, maybe we shouldn't be sleeping on this 7 car.
No, he's got really good long run pace. Before we switched to him and he tagged the wall there, he was looking like he was probably, the fastest car on track at that point. So, yeah, he's running really, really well right now as we've got battle going on here for the second spot. Oh, man, Patrick Colby almost slid up into the door of Justin Gann. And speaking of guys who have turned it on here in the last few laps, Justin Gann has seemed like he's found another gear, and he is really making that top side work here as we approach pit stops.
I think we're coming up on pit stops here. But, yeah, Justin Gann was in his own zip code by about a second there on Aaron Smith. So, like you said, he's turning up the wick as he moves into the third position. Patrick Colby back and forth. Randy Beck will continue on his charge through the field up 5 spots. His payday teammate Rye Jones right behind him. Hey, a guy we haven't mentioned. Speaking of payday, Chase Berry now up into the 11th spot, getting by Lee Campbell in that Sonic the Hedgehog car. Chase Berry quietly marching through the field, and I have to guess if we've got a guy to watch for tire strategy and maybe hanging on to a set at the end, he might be a guy to try it. But I just don't know if those cautions are going to fall the way that Chase typically is able to take advantage of in these Cup Series. In the Cup Series, as Lee Campbell, our first car pulls off onto pit road. First car to pit tonight, as we likely should be keeping Scott Sobczak, it looks like, maybe as well on pit road.
Yep, absolutely.
Matt Scherf coming down. Several cars working their way down pit road right now. This really puts the pressure on Aaron Smith, I feel like, because what's going to happen, Sobczak is going to get on the track with fresh tires, and we've seen these guys feel like they're about even on tires. So I'm curious to see how much of an impact this is going to have on whether that one car brings it down pit road this time by, as we see Justin Gann and Austin Greer also making their first stops of the evening. Justin Gann pitting from third position as we continue to keep our eyes on the new leader, Aaron Smith. He's gone at least one more lap than Scott Sobczak.
Yeah, and
coming down pit road this time by, the leader is on pit road. Man, he barely made the commitment cone, Chris.
Yeah, he was trying to get all he could because he knew he had to. I was just about to say, if you're Aaron Smith, how long do you wait? How long do you sit out there? And, with Scott Sobczak and he running, very, very similar lap speeds pretty late, all the way until the end of the run there. I don't think that Aaron could wait around. I don't think he can feel comfortable doing that.
Oh, absolutely. As that one makes his pit stop, Scott Sobczak is about halfway down the backstretch. So we're going to keep an eye on that 81 car and that one car and see where that battle for what will eventually be the lead shakes out. But right now, your current leader is Randy Bechtel. Scott Sobczak coming down to the line. Aaron Smith is exiting pit road, and I think Sobczak is going to have the upper hand here as he passes Aaron Smith. And I think he's going to pick up a good amount of time here, Chris, on that exchange by just undercutting that one by just a little bit.
Yeah, he already had the gap. He already had the lead anyway, so it wasn't like he leapfrogged him. He's just extended it just a little bit by that one extra lap. And, if you're Aaron Smith, you didn't do anything wrong there. You're just... It seems like these guys are really, really close on long run speed tonight, and I think that Aaron kind of knew that, and that's in the past few weeks we might have seen Aaron sort of wait around, wait before he decided that he was going to try to make that pit stop. But I think that he knew that he had to pit earlier this time, as the only guy I think out here that has not pit yet is the 5 of Chase Berry.
And you know exactly what he is doing.
Well, I think he's got to come. I think he's got to come pretty quick because I don't think he's got. I don't know how much fuel he's been saving. He might have been clutching it back there and trying to save as much as he could.
Yeah, because if we go green the rest of the way, this, with drivers coming in on lap 45, 44, it's going to be close as it is. Whether or not these guys can make it all the way. So right now, Chase Berry is your leader as he works his way down the backstretch, but you're going to see a handful of cars come by Chase really fast as Randy Bechtel makes the pass on the inside. Randy Bechtel on fresh tires, Patrick Colby on freshes, and it looks like 5 signaling that he is going to come to pit road this time on lap number 49. Your leader, Chase Berry, completes the pit cycle, and that is going to bring Scott Sobczak back up to the front as he makes his way by a lurching Tony Hilbrens, who ran into trouble earlier in the race. So that's going to complete the pit cycle, at least the first one on lap 49. Scott Sobczak is going to be your leader, and I believe he picked up at least 2.5 to 3 seconds on that pit cycle by just pitting about 2 laps earlier than that one car, Chris.
Yeah, and that just shows you the difference in the tire life. It shows you the difference in speed between them. It's a pretty big margin here. It's a pretty big gap in this car, and that who knows how this is going to go as we get closer to the end. These guys have shown a tendency to not have that many caution flags, so this thing we could be looking at a very green race like we had last week at IRP.
Yeah, this race definitely has a very green flag look to it right now. We've got a lot of drivers spaced out on the track. I think it very well might be a good time to take a commercial break. So hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back in just a moment with the Evan Pienta Designs 200. How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want.
Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics, from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.
Hey folks, welcome back to Tuesday night Apex Energy Cup Series racing from the Kansas Speedway, the Evan Pienta Designs 200. Not much has changed since we went to break. Scott Sobczak is still your leader, but one thing we are keeping an eye on is his speed compared to second place Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith is running about 2 to 3 tenths faster a lap, and he is drawing within about 2.5 seconds after being about 4 seconds back on a pit stop. So Aaron Smith is a car we're keeping our eye on right now in terms of speed. Justin Gans still sitting in third place, having a good run. Randy Bechtel also a winner of that pit cycle. He's up to the fourth position right now as they come up on the lap car of Tony Hilbrens, who was involved in an earlier incident after running in the top 5 most of the early part of the evening. Right now, these cars are pretty spaced out, Chris, but I can tell by looking at them, a lot of them feel like they're a little bit loose on these new tires.
Yeah, like we mentioned before, we've talked about it several times tonight. I think that you're going to just see these cars stuck, just the opposite of stuck, hung out just a little bit more tonight because of the extra horsepower, because of the extra speed. Being able to, mash that throttle down is something that all drivers want to do, but I just don't think you're going to have a whole lot of success at it with this type of power that you got underneath you now. And I love it. I think it's great. I think that we really, really see the guys who can, manage the race and manage their car, manage their tires on the long run. I think we really start to see them shine in a situation like this. And that being said, I feel like the guys who are running really well tonight are the guys that we've seen run well all season. So it doesn't matter what you put them in. It seems like they can adapt to the situation.
Absolutely. And speaking of guys who have run well all season, but might not necessarily have to finish just to show for it, Scott Sobczak is our leader. And I just want to shout out to the chat right now. We got a couple of Scott Sobczak fans that I'm not sure if they're friends or not, friends of Scott, but Monkey81 and also Live 0311 rooting on Scott Sobczak, saying he has impeccable racing skills in the chat. So hey, we appreciate y'all. You appreciate the viewers, first-time chatters. Yeah, keep rooting Scott on. He's got a good run going tonight. And one thing I am noticing is Aaron drawn now within 1.2 seconds. I don't think that 81 has a lot of damage, and that would lead me to believe, based on those first run speeds we saw earlier in the evening, I think Scott's taking it a little bit easier on his tires right now.
Yeah, we went back and looked at the replay when we were riding on board and looking at him holding it pretty well. I thought I heard him scrape the wall, and he did scrape it just a little bit, but that's all it did to the side of that number 81 Square D Ford, and he's keeping it rolling nice, and he's looking good. Aaron, though, like you mentioned, Aaron is closing in, and it might just be a situation where Aaron didn't push as hard on that first run, thinking that, he was saving some tire, he wanted to try to conserve something, and he just couldn't make up any ground. Right now there's just 2-lap difference in the tires, which that does make a difference, but it's not a huge difference. It might be a situation where Aaron has gotten a better sense of what he needs to do on this long run here. But it could also be a situation where Scott up here, running that high side, maybe he's on cruise.
Yeah, I wonder how much Aaron, maybe lagged back a good bit last time, and maybe thinks he might have maybe lagged back a little bit too much on that run, trying to make up some ground this time by. So the top 2 remain unchanged. Justin Gann, we mentioned him earlier, having a really good run tonight despite that early race incident with Tony Hilbrens. He started 4th. He is up to the 3rd position in that Kitty Cat Coin Apex Energy Cup Series car. He's got Randy Bechtel right behind him. Justin, I feel like, has kind of had a season of ups and downs this season. As he runs in 3rd, he's had some incidents. He's had a win that he won on fuel mileage, I believe, at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but he's looking to see if he can capture his 2nd win of the night, maybe seizing on any mistakes these 2 guys up front happen to make as we watch that battle forecast going back and forth between how many laps they're thinking it's going to take to catch. But between Scott Sobczak and Aaron Smith, 14 laps. Smith is running just a skosh faster that time by. So Scott has turned up the wick just a little bit. I don't know if we heard him talking about him giving up a little bit of ground to Aaron Smith, but right now things look like they have stabilized as Smith's advantage over Sobczak lessens even just a little bit more that lap as we are on lap 67. We're about 23 laps into this particular run on tires. We saw some of these leaders go about 45 to 46 laps, so we're about halfway between the time these guys have to come and take another tank of fuel, and I would imagine tires on that race car.
Yeah, these races can be won and lost on pit road. For example, on that set of pit stops right there, calculating the total time spent on pit road, this guy right here in third, Justin Gann, had the best time. That is, his total time spent on the pit lane. So that's not just the pit stop itself. That's the driver, getting to his box as quickly as he can, getting stopped in the box, and getting off pit road.
Absolutely, and every little second counts as well. On the racetrack, every little second might be the difference between gaining a position or losing a position. One guy I want to talk about positions. I'm not sure what's going on in that seventh position, but Patrick Colby. I don't know if Justin Gann just got the wall there a little bit, but Patrick Colby running in the 7th slot started up front in 2nd place, and he has dropped back quite a bit. I don't know if he's just struggling to manage those tires. We saw a near incident between him and another car as he kind of drifted up the track. Looked like he was a little bit tight later on in that first run of the evening. But Patrick Colby really struggling right now in that 9 car.
Yeah, it's. He's still in the game though. He's maintained the gap with the guys that are in the top 5 here. As long as you can keep those guys within striking distance, you can change some things up with your line. You can change some things up with your driving style. Patrick Colby might be able to, with a caution, find himself back in this thing. It certainly does seem like this is a 2-horse race up at the front right now, but a caution could change all things. And if it does, if it falls at the right time, who knows what could happen here. This track, like I said, it does have a tendency to produce some fuel mileage finishes. Not saying that's going to happen tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to get that tonight because of the fact that we've been green for 72 laps. But, it does have a tendency to do that. So a timely caution could result in this thing getting turned upside down.
Absolutely. Chase Berry is on the wall a little bit. We watched a couple lap cars. He's dragging the wall. I'm not sure if that's going to bring out a caution as he dips to the inside of the backstretch, but right now we see the 52 and the 7 catching the lap cars of Chase Berry and Brayton Laster and looking to work their way around. That got pretty close there, maybe a little bit too close for comfort for Chase Berry as he put it in the wall. That looked like a pretty hard car,
it
Chris,
did.
compared to what we've seen from other guys.
He's going to bring it down pit road right here. Chase did the right thing, though. Sometimes you'll see guys panic and snatch that car up off the wall, just hang a hard left, and they'll actually lose it. But Chase actually, I think he kept it up there, drug the wall as a way to, let everybody pass. Didn't want to cause any mayhem. That's actually the smart move to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And Johnny Rapp having a really good run. We talk about John being a consistent guy. We got a pass for the lead. It's looking like it's about to happen as Aaron Smith is really, really drawn up on the back bumper of Scott Sobczak there for at least for a minute out of turn 2. Aaron Smith's going to dip back down. And right now we notice these guys are in 2 different lines. As you see the battle forecast with those insights provided by Pierce Graphics. Chris Pierce, who started the race tonight, unfortunately is out, designs everything you saw up on that screen tonight. So thank you to him for doing such a great job with that. But you can see 2 laps is the projected overtake time for Aaron Smith, as that lap was even faster with Smith drawing just a little bit faster than Scott Sobczak. Smith runs the bottom, Sobczak up top, and you can just see it visually, Chris. The one car really looks like he's getting ready to make a pass into a corner, but that 81 carries the momentum and speed. He's running a longer distance around the top, meaning it just gives more space for that horsepower to get wound up underneath the hood of that 81 car. And he makes up all that ground he loses to Aaron Smith on the entry of those turns.
This is such a hard pass to make. It's a really, really hard pass to make for if you're Aaron Smith. Aaron's a guy that we know how good he is. We know how talented he is. But when you got a guy that's as good as Scott Sobczak also, and Scott, he's been reeling Scott in lap after lap here, but Scott is so good at running this top right here that it's going to be really, really difficult for Aaron to make the pass because Aaron's going to have to use up. All right, he's going to be forced to use less track on corner exit if he's inside of Scott. And so, if you're trying to pass a guy who maybe isn't as good at running the top, this might be an easier pass to make, but Scott is obviously really, really good at it. He's obviously, he's been up there all race. He's been one of, if not the fastest car all night, as Aaron got really close to the wall there off of turn 4. This is going to be a really, really difficult pass for Aaron to make.
Yeah, and we had mentioned earlier in the evening as Aaron Smith gets even more aggressive with that inside line, pointing that nose towards the bottom of the track, but Sobczak pulls a little bit of distance off the corner. We had mentioned this, you and I, in a conversation before the race. Track position was going to be key, right? With passes like this difficult to make, finding yourself out front in clean air was going to be kind of the name of the game tonight. Scott Sobczak has done that. The question is, when Aaron Smith gets closer here, as I imagine he probably will in the next couple of laps, how much of a fight does Sobczak put up, as we are about 10 laps away or so from a pit stop based on our numbers from the last time? Does Scott hold on as long as he can and then make a pit stop?
Oh, he hit the wall pretty hard there.
Wall on the back stretch there out of turn 2.
Yeah, and that looked like to me he was trying to push. He was trying to, he could see, obviously Aaron's getting a little bit closer, but he pushed it a little bit harder there in 1 and 2. Didn't lose a ton of ground though, so he's still sitting in a really, really good spot. You're seeing some sparks fly up, and I think it's just on my end it's being registered as car contact, but and it might not be on Scott's end. And I think that just shows you how close he's putting that right side. He's putting it all the way up against the wall in the middle of the corner and on corner entry. Like, he is trying to use every inch of real estate that he can. As
Aaron Smith adjusted his line.
Oh, they almost come together there. Aaron had to get out of the gas there. If Aaron can get to the outside of Scott, it's game over.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, does Scott slide up the track here? He's going to have some room. Does he race like a gentleman as he usually does?
The one's going to have a huge run.
Yeah, he could, and he had a minute to do it, but ultimately he made the choice not to do that. And that's just the kind of the guy that Scott Sobczak is. He's not going to take any chances. He takes care of the racers he's racing with out on the track, and that's why we love having him part of Slingshot Racing. Liv, who just followed us, by the way, thank you for that, says Scott Sobczak is the GOAT. Hey, I'm not going to disagree or agree with putting up a good showing tonight as he takes on the previous season's champion, Aaron Smith. And you can see Scott got a pretty good run off that corner as we continue to watch the battle for the lead. Scott Sobczak seeing if he can just keep the distance close, because right now if I'm Scott, I'm calculating my mileage and I'm thinking, what's it going to take for me to get to lap 133 on one more stop, and what's the earliest I can pit to make that happen? I think the move worked last time where I was able to get a pretty good cushion. Chris, are you in agreement with that, or you think strategy right now if you're the 81 car?
Yeah, I think that Scott finds himself probably in a little bit of a difficult spot right now for when he's going to pit. If he pits early, or as early as he can to make it to the end, and Aaron waits, 3 laps, 4 laps, that's just 3 or 4 more laps, fresher tires that Aaron's going to have, and Aaron proved right there on this run that he could chase him down with just 2 lap fresher tires. So I think that if Scott comes early, I think that he's going to find himself in a little bit of a difficult spot here if this thing goes green to the end. And that's a big if. That's asking a lot, but these guys have proven that they can do it. If I'm Scott right here, I think that what I want to do is I just want to maintain. And he's doing a good job of it right now.
He is not giving up. He draws right back up to the back bumper of the one headed into turn 1. And they're both going to run similar lines this time. Scott's able to cut the wheel just a little bit better than Aaron Smith, and looked like he rotated a little bit better through that corner and was able to keep that same gap. We'll see what he does as we watch them head down into turn number 3. Aaron Smith goes back to that trusted bottom line, while Scott Sobczak sticks with the one that brung him, that top line. I think that's going to be the line he sticks to the remainder of the night because it has had so much success early on. And one thing I guess I do think is worth mentioning, Scott has been running the top this run a little bit more than I felt like he ran in the first run. So I don't know if that's had an impact on tire wear. I can't imagine that it hasn't.
Yeah, it very well could have. I mean, they're still running. He's a little bit lower this time. They're still running pretty close. Oh, Scott's coming in this time.
He's coming in.
Oh, wow.
He's calculated, and this time he is going for the true undercut. Did he just get the
wall?
No.
No, he just
Hold on to it, Scott.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of rear brake dialed into it and slid him coming in right there. But I think that what you saw right there with Scott was that he was maintaining with him after he got around. I think that Scott's laps before Aaron caught him, I don't think those were his best all night. I think
they were either.
Yeah, I think that he was making some small mistakes, mistakes that we typically don't see Scott make. And I think that what you saw when Aaron got around him was he cleaned it up a little bit, and he was looking really, really good, and he was able to maintain with Aaron. This is an interesting call right here. There's a lot of laps left, and obviously he feels like he can make it to the end. This looks like it is within the fuel window, so
about 45 laps right on the nose. So that's about what he ran last time. And right now we're keeping an eye on this number 1 car as Scott Sobczak rolls off a pit road. He is going to be what we would imagine is going to be first or second place car. But right now he's going for that undercut, seeing if he's going to be able to bust off some very fast lap times right now compared to what Aaron Smith is running. I'm very curious as we see Smith ran a 33.1 that last lap. I'm curious to see what we see out of that 81 car on his first or second get up to speed lap after getting those fresh tires.
Yeah, and right now he is the first. Scott Sobczak in the 81 is the first car 1 lap down, so he is in position to get the free pass if the caution comes out. But if I'm Aaron Smith here, I'm feeling pretty confident, I think, in staying out. I think that as we got the 30 of Justin Gann coming to pit road, I think it's the 4 of Matt Scherf actually tags the wall. He keeps it straight though, and the 30 of Justin Gann hits the pit road. If I'm Aaron Smith here, I had a pretty good gap on the 30. I had some speed on the 81 there. Oh, it's the 45 Austin Greer. Has some trouble getting on pit road.
Grass, but it looks like the green flag is going to remain out. Pit cycle. We had a moment where we all hold our breath. Austin Greer turns it as he attempts to come onto pit road. He misses pit road, hits the grass. But Aaron Smith still on the track. He is not coming to pit road this time by. That last time, Scott Sobczak was about a second and a half faster than the 1 car, Chris. So I really feel like, I know we talk about the long run speed. Right now, for a couple laps, Scott Sobczak is really gaining a bunch of time on Aaron Smith.
Aaron's coming this time.
Aaron is coming by this time. He has seen enough. The 1 car hits pit road in that iconic yellow paint scheme, probably for the last time tonight, pending that we don't have another caution. But I will say it's probably going to be the last time tonight because this is going to be these guys' last set of tires. They're taking their second fresh set tonight, and that's going to be it with only 3 sets that they started the race with. So right now we're going to be keeping an eye on this battle for the lead with Scott Sobczak right now on the backstretch dealing with Chase Berry, working his way through lap traffic. Aaron Smith still on pit road with that number 1 pit stall after starting on the pole. But Scott Sobczak coming down the front stretch right now. Aaron Smith is going. Scott Sobczak, Chris, he's going to have a pretty sizable lead here, I have to say. He's going to have at least a full straightaway on Aaron Smith. So the question I think we're going to be dealing with for the final portion of the race here in the about 40 laps that we have left is, can Scott Sobczak take advantage of that massive cushion he is going to have on the number 1 car of Aaron Smith? Randy Bechtel makes his way down pit road. He is the leader right now, but once they cross the line, that's going to cycle through the pit stops. For the final time, Scott Sobczak at the line is scored as your leader on lap 93 of the Evan Pienta Designs 200. Aaron Smith is going to be second. And I'm looking right now at a distance, Chris, of about 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, and this is this is intense right here because I think that if you're Aaron Smith, I don't think there's any waiting around. I think that you got to go. I think that you've got to, you've got to try to take advantage of these 40 laps. I don't think that you can wait around at all.
It's
Scott,
a 5-lap difference.
yeah, Scott really made those laps on the track, those 5 laps, he really made them count. But like I said before, if I'm Aaron Smith, I feel confident about where my speed was at on that run. So this is going to come down to it at the end between these two, and tracking their pace. We'll go ahead and pull up the battle forecast, and you're probably going to see this a lot tonight. Between these two, Scott Sobczak was faster that time. We'll see about this lap right here. Oh yeah, so Aaron Smith almost 2/10 up on the 81 of Sobczak. So we're probably going to be taking a look at that battle forecast powered by Pierce Graphics a lot here over the course of these next 38 laps.
Absolutely. And hey, while we have that cushion to work with, it looks like Aaron Smith was, again, 0.3 of a lap faster that time by. As we have a cushion to work with, hey, maybe take a quick look through the field. We know the top two, but Justin Gann sitting in 3rd place. He's been running there for most of the night after starting 4th. He's had a good night, minus the one incident with the 92 on the front stretch early in the race. Randy Bechtel still sitting solidly in 4th place. Rye Jones up 9 positions on the night, sitting in 5th in that number 7 car. He's got a great run going tonight. Hey, shout out to the 22 Brady Powers. He's having a nice, consistent run as this guy continues to get his legs under him in these Cup Series cars. The runs are getting better and better. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season we saw Brady Powers making a play for a win at one of these tracks. We've got about 8 races left in the season, so we'll keep an eye on that driver, the 22. Patrick Colby having a quiet night after running solidly in the top 3 early on in the evening. Johnny Rapp in that special night edition paint scheme for Mission Barbecue almost gets lost on the track a little bit. But Chris, I don't know about you. We had talked about this paint scheme. I think we might have different feelings on it. I won't tell Johnny. But these are the types of paint schemes I loved watching when I was a kid. I remember Casey Kane always used to run a Great Clips reverse paint scheme, I feel like, or in the Grand National Series, the Xfinity Series, that was a white paint scheme at night. I feel like I have a special connection to those solid white paint schemes for night races.
Oh, I agree. I like reverse paint schemes, and I do like solid white schemes. I just think that Mission Barbecue black and orange, I think, is iconic.
It really is. I agree. It's hard to replace that.
Yeah.
Lee Campbell having a great run in 9th. He's got another top 10 cooking in that Sonic the Hedgehog car. And hey, one thing I will point out: Lee Campbell subscribed to our Twitch channel earlier today or yesterday, and we are very appreciative of that. You can subscribe to our channel, and you get a couple benefits with that when you subscribe every month. You automatically get entered into a drawing to win a free merchandise giveaway. This month, we are giving away a Slingshot Racing t-shirt. Last month, we gave away a cap. You also get custom emojis, or I shouldn't say custom emojis, but custom badges. And you also get the races ad-free, including no pre-roll ads, if you are a subscriber to the channel. And you can do that by just clicking that subscribe button right in the bottom right of the video. And hey, if you've got Amazon Prime, that is completely free. Just make sure your Prime account is linked to your Twitch. Chase Berry running in the 10th position. Chase having a quiet night. I feel like Chase has really struggled a little bit in these Truck Series, these Cup Series races compared to how he's doing in trucks, Chris, in part because the strategy just always isn't quite as easy to call as it might be in the Truck Series, in part maybe because we don't have as many cautions in this Cup Series, and I feel like that's held Chase back a little bit. But despite that, he's having a solid run in the top 10 tonight.
Yeah,
Monty
absolutely.
Sprague, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that contact with the wall, and I think that the move that he tried to make earlier, with the pit strategy, I think that something like that works really well in the trucks, and he's obviously made. Oh, and he tags the wall again here on the back stretch, keeping it up there and out of the way. He just kept it up there. I think he was trying to make himself predictable. And so I think that it just hasn't worked out as well as he would have hoped tonight.
No, what is working out though, Matt Sharf, we saw him have some contact with the wall. He's sitting in 12th place. Matt, this is his first race in the Cup Series. He's run trucks with us all season. But Matt, like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, he's a road course guy. But he's come out here, he's really met the challenge, and he's kept it on track and kept it nose straight all evening. So congrats to him. Brayton Lasser, our real-life ARCA Series driver, not having as strong as run as he would have liked after starting 8th. He's sitting in the 13th spot. Austin Greer, having some trouble getting on pit road earlier and just sitting in the 14th place after bringing it through the infield a little bit. And then Tony Hilbrun sitting in last after that early incident on the front straightaway that took him out of contention for the win. As we focus back on the lead after that through the field, Scott Sobczak, Chris, that gap is closing fast.
Yeah, it has closed fast.
Aaron running about 3 to 4 tenths a lap faster every single lap. And I don't know what's going on. Because this is not the speed we saw from Scott earlier in the race. Do you think Scott's holding back here knowing that this might be his shot to kind of capitalize, let Aaron close that gap by running as hard as he can, and then maybe unleash the beast on that last maybe 10 laps or so on those tires that he saved?
Yeah, I'm trying to watch everybody's lap times. It's kind of hard to compare because Scott was one of the earliest ones to come to pit road. In fact, he was the earliest. He is by far out of the top 10, with the exception of Lee Campbell, who also came a little bit early. He is the slowest one, and I think he's slow enough to where I think that he's saving a little. I could be wrong.
Looking to just get equal with Smith, maybe?
It could be where he's trying to even out the tires. Like, he saw this as his opportunity, to grab the lead, build up a cushion, build an advantage. It's a good strategy. It's a good idea to try to build up that advantage. And he knew he would have to give up some time to Aaron Smith. And then once we get to a point in the run, maybe in another 5 laps, maybe in another 6, 7, 8 laps, when Aaron gets to his rear bumper, maybe that's when he decides to go. But I could be totally wrong. It would not be the first time, and he might be giving it all he's got. And that's just the difference in the tires between the 81 and the 1.
Absolutely, and as we draw up on about 25 laps to go, Scott's like having a little bit of difficulty getting by that 45 of Austin Greer, and I can't imagine Sobczak is...
Oh, man! That came close right there.
Can't imagine. Greer took away his line as he rode his right quarter panel there. Can't imagine Scott's going to be happy with the fight he had to put up to get by that lap car. But hey, Austin is just doing what he can to stay on the lead lap at this point. He's having a pretty good run there in 13th. He hasn't run into much trouble other than pit road, but man, this is opening the door. Here we see the story we saw in the second run. Aaron Smith duck into that bottom line. It's going to look like he's closing up to make a pass into each corner, but that's where Scott's going to, be able to pull away just a little bit using that momentum of that outside line here as Aaron Smith almost draws even with the left quarter panel of that 81, but you can see he's no match for the momentum that 81 is carrying, that speed the 81 is carrying off the corner. Hey, if you're in the chat right now, let us know. Is Scott going to hang on to win this one, or is Smith going to take it away from him here with 23 laps remaining in this race? It's anyone's guess at this point. We don't know if Scott's been saving. We are inclined to believe that he has been saving a little bit. If that's going to be enough or not, it is very unclear.
If he has been saving, it's time to mash it now as Aaron Smith draws even with him.
Absolutely. It is time to go. And we saw Scott, even after Aaron Smith got by him towards the end of that last run, Scott was able to hang on and keep touch very close within maybe 2 to 3 tenths. As we see, is Aaron going to close that up on him? He's not. Scott Sobczak is going to have the momentum off the corner. I don't think he's going to be able to gain the advantage here on the entry into turn 1.
Yeah, Aaron Smith, he shortened up the front stretch right there. He took the shortcut, got on the apron right there. It's a shorter distance around, and he's going to clear the 81 of Sobczak and take the lead here with 22 laps remaining.
So now it's just a question, how much does that 81 car have left in it when it comes to those tires? We got Lily rooting on Scott in the chat right now. Hopefully he can channel some of that energy into a little bit of speed here at the Kansas Speedway in the Apex Energy Cup Series, Evan Pienta Designs 200. We are almost done with it. About 20 laps left. As Austin Greer is really giving the 81 a good bit of trouble here as he draws up to the back bumper a lap down. Austin showing more speed right now than I think he showed the rest of the night, it looks like.
Yeah, Austin's got a little bit fresher tires than Scott does. He's got about 5 lap fresher tires, and sometimes you can run into this in a race where a lap car, just has a little bit more speed because of the pit cycle, the way it has shaken out. And right now, he does have a little bit of speed. He's not doing anything, too egregious right now. He's just riding, sort of behind him. He did fight him to try to keep from going a second lap down. Looks like Austin is gonna get to the outside of him here and make the pass. And I think what you're seeing out of Scott right here is just, I like the effort, I like what he tried, but unfortunately, it's just the difference in tires. It's just it has just come around to where it has not quite worked out the way that he wanted to. And one guy that is, riding back in the third spot that we probably need to keep an eye on is this number 30 of Justin Gann. Justin has not, I don't think if this thing goes green to the end, I don't think that Justin has the lap speed to catch the one car because I feel like they've been pretty close. And the past 2 laps here, it looks like Aaron Smith has been quicker. But I think that what we do see is the possibility of him catching the 81 of Sobzak before the end of this thing. We'll try to pull up some race insights here and see if, this past time by, Justin Gann was about 0.2 quicker. We got a projection of about 14 laps, and that could change. We saw how it changed quickly with the 1 and 81, as the tires wore out. And that time by, it was down to 11 laps, whereas now it's updated to 16. So it's going to be tough because Scott is not running, that much slower than Justin. But it is a possibility if they stay about right here.
Absolutely, and we are on lap 116 of this race. We have not had a single yellow yet. Hopefully we're not putting the jinx on any of our drivers here. I'm not really seeing any situations, at least in terms of cars next to each other, that could bring out a yellow. But as these cars tighten up, we could see, some wall contact maybe lead to a crash. Not that we're hoping for anything like that, but right now, just looking at what the trajectory of this race might look like, it's had a green flag look all night, obviously, and it does seem like it is going to remain that way as we continue to keep our eyes on the speeds that these leaders are running. As you mentioned, Justin Gann is drawing ever closer to the back of that 81 of Scott Sobzak, looking for the second place. I think these guys might be running a separate race than the one of Aaron Smith tonight. But Randy Bechtel, as we mentioned, he is closing in on the back of Justin Gann. He is looking like he wants that third position. Yeah, and we continue to mention Rye Jones tonight having a great run inside the top 5.
He is, and we were bringing up Randy Bechtel just a second ago. Randy has the freshest tires out of everybody. We've got the current stint lengths up there on the top 10 running order, and you can see the guy who has the most laps on his tires, Scott Sobzak, with 32 laps. That's not a huge difference, but that is enough to where we can see that difference in pace between the 1 and the 81. Randy Bechtel has about 3 lap fresher tires on his tires than Justin Gann. Unfortunately for Randy, I think that he's running out of time. The past few laps, he's been running a quicker lap speed than Justin has. That time he was a little bit slower. We'll see how they compare this time. It looks like he was a little bit slower that time too, so if Randy is going to make this pass, I think that he's going to have to get up on the wheel and see if he can get after it.
Yeah, there's not much time left with only about 13 laps left in the Evan Pienta Designs 200. Randy Bechtel is finding himself in a position similar to what he found himself in last week at IRP, as he appeared to have one of the faster, if not fastest, cars on the racetrack in the final 10 or 15 laps. He was just not able to get the job done, ended up finishing second, but could not get that top spot away from Aaron Smith, who took that victory at IRP. And Smith looking to claim his, I believe, fourth, or I think it's the fifth victory of the season at this point. This guy's been unbeatable so far. He ran the last season of the Next Gen cars with Slingshot Racing League, and he claimed at least, I believe, 6 or 7 wins that season and took home the hardware, the UD Awards trophy. And he's looking like he might be on his way to doing the same thing this season. Chris, what makes Aaron Smith so good?
I just think he's, the total package, complete driver. We always talk about his ability to save tires and to manage the race and to, hit the strategy perfect every single time. But I also think, you see him, qualify up front. You see him be able to get up on the wheel on those green-white checkers and bring it home. He's obviously somebody that can, go out there and ring the car out, too, for a lap or two if he needs to do it. And I just think that just, makes him the complete and total package. I often think about, guys who say, man, if I just had a little bit better luck, and trust me, I've said it all season in the truck series, and if I just had a little bit better luck, if I just, if I didn't get involved in this wreck, if this didn't happen, if that didn't happen, how often do you see this guy get involved in anything? And it's, it just speaks to, his ability to, read the danger on the track, read the situations, not find himself in a dangerous situation. You might see him giving up spots. You might see him falling back, but you never see him falling too far back. And he just knows how to maintain that gap. He knows how to, keep that gap to where he feels comfortable that he can make it up. And we did get a chance to look at the points coming into the race as we come to 9 laps to go. I'm going to flash those up on the screen here for just a second so everybody can get a sense of, like where we stand right now. As unfortunately, looks like they're a little bit off. But yeah, so Aaron Smith has about a 19-point lead on Randy Bechtel. Tony Hilbrand's 24 out, Johnny Rapp 25 out, and Rye Jones 31 out. It's still really close. It's still anybody's guess who's going to win this championship. Everybody is still eligible. Everybody's still in it, especially when you begin to calculate the drop weeks. But yeah, Aaron Smith is looking like he's really, really tough to handle, and he's going to be difficult to beat as we cross over with just 8 laps remaining in this race. And don't want to ignore the fact that this battle for second is coming closer and closer and closer between Sobzak and Gann.
Yep, that time by Justin Gann was just about a 1/10 of a lap faster. And we see these two drivers now working kind of differing lines. Justin Gann working that top line outside of turn 3, going into 4. Looked like he might have grabbed the wall a little bit there, but he doesn't really lose any speed. You saw Scott Sobzak run the inside. We'll see what they choose this time. They're both going to choose the top. Scott Sobzak kind of working his way up to the top to maybe defend against that pass that Justin Gann is trying to make in that 30 kitty cat coin car. We've got about 6 laps left in this race. Gann looking to see if he can get the job done and get a second place finish and steal that away from Sobzak right now. This is the most exciting battle on the track that we have.
Yeah, if you're Sobzak, you got to be a little bit of a Nostradamus here, and you got to try to predict where that 30 is going to go and where he's going to be. You want to try to take his line away from him. Right here, we see Sobzak going back to his bread and butter, running up high right here. But as that 30 inches closer and closer, does Sobzak want to try to take that line away? Does he want to try to put his tire tracks right in front of that 30 car? Looks like right here he's not going to. He's committed to trying to run the top. It's like, if you want the bottom, Justin, you can have it.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen Scott do most of the night. That top line has kind of been his bread and butter. I don't know if it was also his downfall with maybe a little bit excessive tire wear running those higher speeds around the top. But you could see as they come through turn 4, or turn 2 rather, the Scott running that same exact high line.
You heard Justin Gann sort of pedal it right there in the middle of 1 and 2. Hey, we're getting down to it right here. We're late in the tire life. You're trying to give it all you got, especially down there on the bottom like that, trying to pass a guy who's, making the outside work. Right on board with him again here. All right, Justin's a little bit higher up this time, but he's peeking that left front, trying to get some air on the nose of that car. Just getting a headlight. That's what we call getting a headlight right there. Just getting that left front headlight into the wind. You don't want to be too far up behind him. He's doing the same thing here. Oh, they get really close right there in the middle of 3 and 4. There's a lot of center of the corner speed right now in that 30 car compared to the 81. Scott's just, the tire life is pretty late right now. He's just having a hard time getting back to it. Also, I have to wonder, does Scott have enough fuel to make it to the end of this heat?
It's gonna be close, I would have to imagine. Right now,
he's really early.
39. He's on the 44th lap of his run, so we've got about 3 laps left in this race.
Oh no, the 45's in the wall right in front of him.
In the wall.
Oh man, that's bad timing right there. I don't know if it contributed. Scott's not giving up. Oh, and the 30.
I think he might have got the wall a little bit.
Yeah, Justin Gann, he didn't do anything wrong. He kind of did a really, really defensive line on the front stretch right there, and Scott couldn't make the turn, and he just tagged the wall a little bit on the front stretch, and that's going to open the door for Randy Bechtel. Randy might be able to challenge for this last step on the podium here as we come to the white flag.
Absolutely. So what you were seeing, unfortunately, was not a battle for the lead. It was a battle for second place. Gann, Sobczak, and Bechtel. Your leader with less than a lap to go is Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith chasing down his 5th victory of the season of the Apex Energy Cup Series. He has continued his string of dominance, and he's looking to do so tonight as he marches his way towards a 2nd championship. But they are 3 wide on the backstretch for a moment. Bechtel, Gann, and Sobczak. That is the race that we would like to keep the camera on. I will call the win for Aaron Smith as he crosses
Sobczak's
the line
out
for his 5th victory. But Sobczak is out of gas.
Man, that's a tough break, but, he gave it all he could, and he put on a really good show at the end of that thing.
Man, that was an exciting finish for 2nd and 3rd place. You didn't know what to keep an eye on. The guy crossing the lead for the win. We chose the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Scott Sobczak, man, again, a valiant effort, but he just can't get that win. He will have to wait another week to get his first victory of the Slingshot Apex Energy Cup Series season. But for now, Aaron Smith is going to extend his points lead just a little bit on those guys right behind him, Gann, Bechtel, and Scott Sobczak as well as Rye Jones. He picks up his 5th victory of the season. And again, Smith mastered the tire strategy, mastered the tire conservation tonight to claim this win. We're going to take a brief break here for just a moment while we work on getting these drivers in the Discord, and we will be right back for these interviews. How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want.
Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.
Randy Bechtel, you are live in the Slingshot Racing booth with Chris and Alice. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we're talking to you again after the race. That is a good thing. You had a great run tonight. You were consistently in the top five. And again, we saw kind of a similar story for you at the end of this race as we did at IRP. Walk us through kind of how the beginning phases of the race compared to the later stages, because we felt like we saw some different dynamics, at least for some drivers. Did the car drive differently as the race went on, even kind of over the course of three different pit cycles, or two pit cycles, I should say?
For me, it didn't feel very different each run. I just kept it on the bottom. A little bit loose on top on the old tires when I tried up there, and I was like, no, I got to take it back down to the bottom. My main goal was just not hit the wall. I know.
We noticed a lot of drivers. We noticed a lot of drivers kind of having to make that choice. We know Scott Sobczak was definitely running up top for a large part of the race. We saw you running on the bottom. Is that what you expected to see? We had talked to some drivers who expected it to be kind of a train around the top tonight, but that's not what we saw.
When we were practicing, Johnny and I found out that the lines were kind of close. It's just who saved tires more, which I think the top side usually burns up a little bit more. So I seen Aaron was running the bottom too, so him and I were just saving the tires on the bottom.
Awesome. Hey, well, congratulations on that third place finish tonight. You were keeping even. I know Aaron is having a string of dominance here, but you're keeping even. You're not letting him get too many points more than you each race. So just keep that up and keep this championship battle tight. You got any shout outs before you go?
First off, I want to say if I could actually get a qualifying lap in without wrecking it, it might be a little bit better. But thank my teammates, you guys for broadcasting, running the league, and all the great sponsors at Slingshot.
Awesome. Hey, well, we appreciate you, and go out there and enjoy that third place finish.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. All right, you heard from Randy Bechtel, our third place finisher. We're going to bring Justin Gann into the broadcast booth, and Chris is going to take a crack at him.
Randy.
Yep.
Justin Gann, driver of the number 30 Kitty Cat Coin Chevy. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Justin, man, hey, we saw you up front all night. You put on a really good show. It seemed like you were in the middle of the action a couple of times. We saw you and the 92 early in the race. You guys looked like y'all had a little bit of contact right there. Talk us through what you saw in that situation.
Yeah, I actually went back and looked at the replay. I'm not quite sure what I could have done different. I was painted on that white line, so unfortunately we connected. Maybe it was netcode, I don't know. But either way, it gave me right front damage, and my tires were out of alignment for the whole race. So I feel like I had a good shot at winning the race, but again, I'm driving a damaged car, so I am more than happy with the P2.
Yeah, we saw that damage, and we were talking about it as the night went on, and we were wondering how it was affecting you. And you put on you guys up there, Sobczak and Bechtel, you guys put on a really, really good show for second spot right there. Talk us through that battle that you had there at the end. It was very entertaining to watch. Was it entertaining behind the driver's seat?
Oh man, I was holding on hard. I knew Randy was coming up. He's been fast all night, and he had a way better long run. I think he was on a better tire strategy than I was, and I knew he was going to be there at the end, especially if I had to battle Scott. And I knew it would be hard to get past Scott. So he took my line away a couple times. He did the right moves, I think. But there at the end, I was able to squeeze in there, and hopefully I didn't mess him up too much, because I almost came down into his door. But I think he's seen it coming, and he moved down a little bit. But I think he ran out of gas there at the end, so It's unfortunate for him. But I think he had a strong car all night as well. But I knew Aaron was the man to beat, I think, and I just didn't have it for him.
Yeah, it was a great show. We kind of mentioned early in the race how the update to these cars today. How do you think that played out in the race? Did you like the update to the car? Did it feel like something that you're going to enjoy the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it felt still pretty similar to me than it always has. You're really laying on that right rear to get around the turns, so that was still there. The RPM shifting was a little bit different, I think. But other than that, the car felt great all night. Even though I had the damage, it felt comfortable. It was just kind of cruise control, really.
Very nice, man. Well, hey, you had a great run all night. We enjoyed watching that battle there at the end between you three. You're having a really consistent season. You're right up there in the middle of the points as well. So keep up the good work, man. Are there any shout outs that you want to give before we let you go?
Yeah, of course, I got to give a shout out to the sponsor, Kitty Cat Coin. You guys for putting on the league over here and putting on the broadcast. And appreciate Scott not taking me out, and hopefully appreciates me not taking him out. So other than that, I appreciate it.
All right, man. That's Justin Gann, driver of the number 30. Congratulations, second place finish tonight.
All right, so you heard from Justin Gann. We are going to check in with our winner, Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith, this is Ellis Thomas and Chris Smith in the broadcast booth for Slingshot Racing. Do you copy?
I've got you.
Well, Aaron, I say it every time. I'm getting sick of talking to you, but it's always actually a pleasure to talk to you. Tonight, again, we saw the same story. We feel like we've seen it race in and race out. You save your tires early on in the run, but walk us through that first run, because I feel like it felt a little bit different. Even by the end of the run, we felt like the 81 car was just as fast as you, but that is not what played out over the course of the second and third runs. Kind of walk us through maybe your mentality and how you were early in the race compared to later on.
Yeah, in that first run, it was about the same story as IRP last week. I was trying to find the line and see how much of my tires I could save over the course of that first run, and kind of experiment with the lines while I could, and save a little bit of fuel while I was doing it. And just running behind Scott there on the outside, I learned a lot from him there. He was looked like he was tapping the wall quite a few times. Might have been netcode on my end, but I caught it a few times myself and fell back to about a second and a half. And then I guess he pit a couple laps too early, and that probably changed the course of his race there. But I saved enough gas to be able to cut the race into even thirds there, and fortunately it worked out for me.
Yeah, we were definitely curious about how things were going on early on, and it definitely made it exciting in that final run where Scott definitely undercut you a little bit on that pit stop and was able to gain quite a considerable amount of time. But you closed, I think, a little bit quicker than we expected you to. How hard were you driving that final run?
I was trying to pace myself the same way I did in the first and second runs. Just running the bottom. Didn't want to touch the outside with a 10-foot pull after how much it wore the right front off in the first run. So just kept the same kind of inputs throughout the entire run. And fortunately, I was able to get up to him before he had to pit, because I didn't want to get stuck behind him on the bottom and have to drive around him on the outside. But yeah, I got by him and opened up the gap a little bit, and saw him pit there. And then he gained about 7 or 8 seconds on me, and I was able to close that gap while he was saving his fuel. So everything fell into my favor there, and certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, it definitely fell into your favor, but again, you earned it as well. You earn it every single week because this Cup Series continues to impress me. Again, another race that we run without a caution. You guys put on a great show and are so professional and so courteous each week. We got about 7 weeks left in this series. We're about at the halfway marker. We got an all-star break happening next week, but let me walk you through the final part of this season, starting the end of this month. The Red Bull Ring, Milwaukee, Darlington, Fontana, Dover, Talladega, Rockingham, and Homestead. I know Talladega is kind of a wild card race. Aside from that, is there a race on this list that you are not confident about and you put it kind of on the bottom of your list in terms of your speed?
Milwaukee and Rockingham probably fall into that category pretty well. I'm not a fan of Milwaukee. The line's probably going to be about the same as it was here, just running around the bottom, saving yourself the whole race. And Rockingham is weird. Like I got lucky last time in the Cup Series when the leader got wrecked and was able to pull away on fresh tires on that one, but I don't think I'll have that same luck this time around. If we have as competent of a set of races as we have these past 2 weeks. I don't think I'll be able to rely on those cautions late in the race. So it'll be interesting to see how those play out, but I'm not sure if it'll play out in my favor.
All right. Well, we will have to wait and see. Hey, we're going to let you go, but do you have any shout outs before you go and celebrate?
Well, as always, I'd like to thank everyone at the Slingshot Racing League for putting the show on, y'all for broadcasting, and all the folks for watching. Looking forward to getting back at it for the All-Star Week next week.
Absolutely. You're going to take more money from us. I'm sure that's the plan.
I hope so.
All right. Hey, have a good night. Congratulations on that win.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We heard from our top 3 finishers, just finishing there with Aaron Smith, your winner of the Evan Pienta Designs 200 from the Apex Energy Cup Series and Slingshot Racing. Chris, this on the surface felt like it was kind of a sealed deal with about 30 laps to go in terms of who was going to win. But for a good while there, watching that kind of battle between Smith and Sobzak, whether it was the beginning of the race or when Sobzak had about a 7 to 8 second lead and Smith had to work on closing that, there was definitely some excitement. What do you feel like was the most exciting portion of the race tonight, or exciting moment?
There were several of them. I think that the one that stands out was the last lap exchange, last 2 laps between Justin Gay and Randy Bechtel and Scott Sobzak. I hate that Scott ran out of gas. I kind of wondered about it when I was looking at the laps that he had put on the stint right there, and he wound up running 46 laps, and that's a long stint. And I give him credit, for taking a swing and trying to make it happen. That was the really exciting part of the race. I also enjoyed watching, the difference in lines between the two, Smith and Sobzak, the guys who dominated most of the action tonight. I think it made for a very entertaining race. I think a lot of people sort of thumb their nose at Kansas a little bit because of, it's a 1.5 mile D-shaped oval. It's a little bit difficult to pass because of the top being dominant. But I think tonight what we saw was a lot of fun. We saw, a couple guys take a couple of different approaches and put on a really good show.
Absolutely. It was a great show from start to finish. And hey, we've got some great shows coming up next week. We've got the All-Star Break, the All-Star Race coming up next Tuesday, March 14th. And this is going to kind of be a combined deal between our Truck Series drivers and our Cup Series drivers. We kind of created a formula. We're not going to talk about everything right now, but we will say this. There's going to be a burnout and there's also going to be a main event, 60 laps around the Irwindale Speedway. And we got something special planned for the halfway mark. Chris, what are we doing once we get halfway through that race and bring out a caution?
Halfway through the race, the guys who are at the front of the field are probably not going to be at the front of the field, and the guys who are at the back of the field probably aren't going to be in the back of the field. We're going to have a little inversion.
Absolutely. We're going to mix it up a little bit, add a little bit of excitement into that short track bull ring showdown on Tuesday night for the Apex Energy Slingshot Racing League All-Star Race. So check out all the action next Tuesday at 8:30 on our Slingshot Racing Twitch page. And again, for all the viewers tonight, we appreciate you. We appreciate all our drivers. We appreciate all of our sponsors as well as we continue our march towards championship week at Homestead, where both of these drivers, or all of these drivers, I should say, look to take home the UD Awards Apex Energy Cup trophy. So I think that's going to do it for tonight. Great night of racing. We've got another great night of racing in store for viewers tomorrow night with the Truck Series racing again, also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be Talladega, 66 laps around that track, probably 2-3 wide most of the evening, at least up front. Tune in. It's going to be a great race. Everyone, we appreciate you